Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. All right, let me just get on the speaker. Welcome. Welcome to Cynthia On Demand, Mystic Medic, Temple Time. Let me just see what's happening here and make sure. We are streaming. All righty. I can see you. Hey, Lisa. Hey, MA. What else do we have? Let me just get the Spirit Whisperer one up so that I can have a bit of a look there. Who's here? All right. Oh, we're going to go some places today. This is where I may lose some of you. Let's just see how bold and brassy I can be today. How vulnerable. How can I model how to lean in to the scary stuff? It's not that scary, really. It's just that some of you will possibly have I just got to record this. I'll have a trigger on it. All righty. So I have you there. Let me just try and get you so I can see you. So we are continuing our dive into the aspects of feminine. We could say, ways of looking at the feminine journey, whether that's in the woman or the man, or as an energy, as a life force. And this story that we're continuing on from last week plays out metaphor, a story, although these people existed and we can use them as archetypes. And I want to show you, or continue to show you, how we can see parts of a path, a journey to our human conscious evolution, or the continuation of our conscious evolution. For those of you that are more biblical based, Revelation, Messianic times, Return of the Messiah, Christ consciousness. What else do you call it? I don't know. Whatever. I'm not a religion. So let's get on with it. And as you come in, you can ask your questions or whatnot. And then after this free stream, we'll go into the mastermind, where we will go into process, and we can go deeper into how this impacts on you. You can ask your questions. I can mentor you directly and continue on with that. So the link to the mastermind, if you wanted to come and join us this week and next week, there's 2 days free, and the link is the Holistic Mystic Mastermind. And if you want to continue on with us after that, it's $30 for a month of mentoring. Bargain, a bargain. Tell me where you can get that. You tell me. I don't know. You just can't. All right. So we've got a lot to get through. I don't know. I want to try and keep it to like 30, 40 minutes at a push. Because I tend to just get caught up in it. No, MA, no. You got to hold the space for me. No, you don't. But if I'm on a roll and I'm in the middle of something, then it may go a little longer. If I end something, and then, we may stop a little sooner. So let's do a little recap, or like in a few moments recap. We have Do I need the whiteboard? I might need the whiteboard. We're going to start with, we have these archetypes in the Purim story, or the Queen Esther's story, the Book of Esther, or the Megillah, it's also called. We have Malachi, we have Esther, we have God or Hashem. We have Haman, we have Vashti, and we have the king, who is Hashverosh or Ashverosh, depending, but Hashverosh is the pronunciation. So we have the light or the front aspects of whatever you want to call it, the light, the force, right? Energy, our expression, and we have the backside or the dark side. So the light is Malachi, which is Esther's uncle who raised her. We have Esther, who becomes the queen or rises. And we have Hashem or God, right? So these are the light. And then we have Haman, who is the advisor to the king, Hashverosh, in the story, who helps put Vashti, the original queen, to death. So that's in a nutshell. Got it? Got it, got it. All right. So Haman, the dark sidekick to the king, he had a lot of fear. He was scared. He wouldn't, it doesn't say it like that, but there was obviously some fear going on around the feminine. He had a fear of the Jewish people. He had a fear of woman. And there's a reason for that, which is what I'm unpacking for you. And so Vashti was killed. And if you want to know the process of that and the story of that, go back and watch the replays from last week, because I go further into the story. So as first Queen Vashti was killed because she was more speaking up in chaos or coming forward with her opinions and ways of knowing from her backside, from her dark side, from her unconscious. So again, the light and the dark can be the conscious and unconscious parts of us. So our backside, you can't see your back. You can't see the backside of you, right? So that's sort of the way of describing the unconscious aspects, or the parts that are speaking or acting or moving in the world that you're not fully aware of, right? So you walk through the world, you don't see your back. You might sense it if it's in pain, but generally, right? So we have, after the Queen Vashti was killed, she's seen as the dark or the ego aspect of the feminine. We have the Queen Esther, the sweetness of the woman, right? On first glance. On first glance, right? And she's replacing Vashti. So we have the feminism that is more insidious, and we spoke of last week, chaos and transformation, right? So the push to make things happen, or the influence. And one on first glance looks more power-filled than the which is why we tend to move forward in one way rather than the other. It's what our society, we're, patriarchal society, what we're conditioned into and whatnot, right? So I'm just setting the scene. We're getting there. So the king's right-hand man, he wanted to see that the order was kept, the power of him and his king's kingdom, because he received from that, right? Status and finances and whatnot, prestige and respect and whatnot. So they put out, after Vashti was killed, to make a what's the word? A note of her, a model of her, to go, we don't want other people to follow in her footsteps. So we're going to put a law out that every man be the leader, or the, I guess the leader is the right word, of his own home, and the wife be the subordinate, right? So this is what this story is talking about. You're familiar with that story in your own life? Some of you, right? I mean, think of politics, think of maybe your own household, or the household you grew up in, or the process of spiritual development, conscious evolution. There is this drop. So let me just move this over. All right. So that I can see you on Zoom. All right. So what else do I want to tell you? So the story of the king. So I'm just going to say king, because I don't think you remember Hashverosh, right? But the king. He ruled over 127 provinces. Now, Esther, the queen that this, the book is about, she is a descendant of Sarah, Abraham's Sarah, the father of religion, or the four main religions, yeah? Or Abba and Imma, father and mother, Sarah and Abraham, right? It's a clue. Now, you don't have to be religious. You don't have to follow a religion to get the mystical juice or essence of what this is showing you. And it's power-filled. Bear with me. You stay with me over these weeks, and I assure you I will blow your minds and hearts for expansion, even if it's only a little bit, right? There'll be some like aha moments. I'm sure of it. So we have the 127, 127. Sarah is said to have lived to 127. I think she had her, there's different accounts, so you can Google it, whatever. She had her first child at 98, right? And Esther went on to rule over 127 provinces as well, but I believe it's a time period that she ruled, something like that. Maybe don't quote me on that last one, but the 127 is relevant to all three. And it's just another indication, there's many, of the relationship between Sarah and Esther in matriarchy. So I'm going to touch a little bit on Sarah today, but I could do a whole months on Sarah as well, because she's another one of, like I said, our matriarchs that shows these breadcrumbs of development from the drop of the feminine to the rise of the feminine, and how to navigate that in the world. Hi, Kate. Do you have the Zoom link? And Lisa as well. Come over to the Zoom link if you can, or come over for the mastermind at least. So Esther comes in and turns things upside down. Yeah, you've got to like a bit of a rebel. But she does it so sweetly and gently, like she's not a threat, which is a true feminine leader, wisdom and faith to affect change. So this is really what I'm talking about, right? These women that come in and turn things upside down. Now that might sound like chaos like Vashti, but bear with me, because it's a holy, sacred, spiritual way of the flip, right? So we have this sort of movement, and one's a bit chaotic and one is a movement, I guess, a development, and hence the wisdom and the faith coming in, right? Wisdom, faith, and the ability to influence or affect change is royalty, is king or queendom, right? It's a symbol of that for the people, right? You're affecting change. So if you look at what a king or a queen, you're there for your people. You're ruling the people. You're the good king and queen, or the effective king and queen. You're not raping and pillaging all the funds and money for your own wealth, to sit in your tower counting your pennies. Yeah. So let's go to fear, because I don't talk about anything without talking about fear, because it's in everything. So the fear, don't let the women have the ability to influence environment. That's a fear of the king and the kingdom, of men in power, even women in power. When a woman rises, there is wisdom, leadership, faith, and the capacity to influence. So write down the word influence, because we're not talking about social media influencer. That's empty. I can't judge everybody, but there's no substance to that. There's no emuna, or like faith. There's no true essence to just showing up as a head on a and having thousands, hundreds and thousands of followers and whatnot. It's not about how many, it's about what that influence is, the ability to influence for this type of change. So Esther and Sarah were two of those women. And there's many others, but they're two key ones we're talking here because they're linked. So it's a holy thing to influence your environment. It's a sacred thing. It's like that, as you breathe, there's power to heal, right? And hence, women and the Jewish people, because they were seen as the same, like Jewish people represented the feminine, right? If you go through the Bible and whatnot, different texts. So you can look at it from different levels. Again, everything I talk about is these levels, and so it's about unpacking them so that you can sort of see them all. I can take you through one piece at a time, I guess, but I'd have to go to the story numerous times to pull out that one thread every time. And maybe we could do that if that's what people want, but bear with me for now, okay? So the woman laid the seed. These women laid seeds. They laid seeds for how to receive. So Sarah received from Abraham. So the mother received from the father. So if you want to take the biblical references out, mother received from the father. Light in the vessel. Light into the vessel. Bringing light into the darkness. Right. And then had also the capacity, and this is the difference, this is the key, reception, be able to receive, and be able to influence. It's not a passive sitting back and, right? But Vashti was not receiving. She was just forcing the influence through fear, through ego, through wanting to break through the foundations to create change, like smash it up. And what we'll see through a lot of these different stories is the same thing, that before Vashti, with Vashti, and just directly after Vashti, nothing changed. She didn't make change. Where you see, as Esther comes in and seems to be this sort of more passive, gentle, sweet, feminine, really there was some true power there. It wasn't masculine power, and that's why it looks different. That's why she was able to come in. And it reminded me of the, I don't know if any of you know the Hayoka. It's a term, I think it's the Hopi Indians. But go and Google it, the Hayoka. It's a medicine man or woman. So riding on the horse backwards with a broken sword into battle. Riding on a horse backwards with a broken sword into the battle. They're seen as mad, not a threat. Like, lost the plot. So they got behind enemy lines. Much like me in the infantry, being a woman in these, or even me in politics and all the different areas I've worked in, I was seen as not a threat. I was often laughed at. I was often seen as silly or whatever. That's my power. Don't underestimate it. How I can connect with every human on whatever level, you know, from the most broken, desolate souls to those that are, you know, sitting as kings and queens and royalty or politicians or presidents or whatever you want to, right? We're just human. We're human. So getting behind, I'm going to say it like this, enemy lines. Esther was in the kingdom. She had favor of the king. Why? She didn't say, she didn't speak unless it was really needed. Whereas Vashti just spoke and spoke and spoke. King says, I'm going to do this. She goes, I can do that too. I can do it better than you. Or I'm going to have this party. And Vashti says, well, I'm going to have a better party than you because I can do it too. Right? It's just not, it wasn't effective is my point. It wasn't effective. She didn't create change. She lost her head. She was killed. She was cut off. So what's dropped lower than the drop is your death. You're no longer effective in any way because you don't exist anymore. Right? Although, let's give some homage to Vashti because we're talking about her now and she's showing us the difference. She's showing it. She modeled something. So I'll talk about this next month because a lot of stuff's come in today to, I really wanted to talk about it today, but we're going to sort of go deeper into this. But how we decide what's good and bad, how we choose what to say is good or no good. And I saw a lot of stuff today before I came on of just people posting stuff or talking about stuff and comparing and judging and projecting their fear about certain ways of knowing. And it was interesting because, I mean, I don't want to go into it, but it was interesting because I could see that where they had come from assisted them to get where they are, yet they're turning around and saying, no one do that process, right? In a nutshell. So I want to go into that at a later date in more detail so you understand what I actually just said cryptically. I'm aware I was cryptic. something. All right, so we have these mirrors for us, all these archetypes that, you know, can help us to understand this influence, the reception and the influence, the receiving and the giving and receiving. Giving, a lot of us are really good at giving. And we'll go deeper in this in the mastermind because it's sort of more your personal work, but because it's masculine in some ways. In other ways, it's feminine, but there's a masculine aspect to it of you feel good when you give, right? So, you know, the mothering side of it is, you know, where for women, I guess, some men, that we're giving selflessly to our children or to others. But most of the time, it's not selflessly. You give to get, right? A lot of people give to get. It's like if you gave me a birthday present and I didn't say thank you, you would probably be upset. Or if you did something for me out of the goodness of your heart and I didn't acknowledge you, you may be upset. Pure generosity is doing something without any expectation of return. So if any time you're giving and you're expecting something or you have a bit of a grudge because someone didn't acknowledge you, you know straight up you're doing it for your own accolades. You're doing it for you. It's not selfless. Just as a little highlight. Now we can do a whole lesson on that, but we're going to move on, right? It's just a little tidbit, which are these stories and whatnot are. They're just the tidbits to get your, you know, your taste buds going. If it's something that you're like, wow, what's she talking about? You know, then you can go and look further into it, or you can ask questions, or you can come into the mastermind or do one of the programs and learn more. Okay. So the mystical source. So we're going to go into a little bit of Eve right now, Adam and Eve. I need to tell you this, and this is what's exciting me and has excited me in the understanding of the fall of the feminine and the rise. I'm going to draw. I'm going to draw. Look out. Look out. Get my board up. Because I'm going to be describing some Hebrew letters and words. And if you don't speak, we might speak Hebrew, but some of this is biblical Hebrew. So it's like older than contemporary Hebrew, which is where I'm seeing this. And even thinking about it yesterday, I had another aha that I haven't, I can't say, oh, you'll find the source here or there, because it can't, you know, it's one of my direct experiences of this stuff. Okay. You with me? Are you're on the ride with me? I feel like, I don't know what I think people think of this stuff. Let me just check this. I tried, it wouldn't work for me, so I'll just do it here. When getting behind, have time. You please send an email to open it. Did we change the link? Lisa, can you get on the link? I just want to check because there's some people. How can I give them the link? It should be the same link in the portal. Was it, Emma? Did you go through the portal or did you get the link somewhere else? I went on this through a link in the email, I think. Okay. Anyway, let's go on. Yeah, I don't know. That's okay. When we break to go over, I'll see if the others aren't on. Maybe there's a problem with where they got their link from, because you might have got it from from another post or something. I'm not sure. All right, where was I? Mystical source that says that. So we can see hover, right? Or right is Eve. Okay. And there's letters. So I'm just going to write it out and then I'll talk about it. So there's letters Yod and Vav, or in biblical Hebrew it's Wa, right? So this is this, and this is this, or this. But what it looks like, let me see if I can write my Hebrew. Something like this. So just as it's like the smallest letter, the Yod. And then we have the same sort of thing, but it has a tail, right? I'm trying to, you get the idea. Okay, so the Vav represents, so this represents the reality of imperfection. The reality of imperfection. All right. So imperfect, let's just say, right? Our reality. And that's this one with the tail. Okay. Imperfect. Why? Because look at it. It has the drop. Oh, what? What? It has the drop. Does this bore you or fascinate you? I'm nerding out on this anyway, right? It's the Yod with the drop. Okay. All right. It's the Vav with the drop. The Yod represents the ideal. So this one is the ideal. So this one is the ideal. Stay with me. Stay with me. What's the time? What time do we have to go over? Let me just see what the time. I can't even see the time on this. I've got Facebook up there. Let me just see. Oh, we got to cross over in a minute. So I got to get on with it. So no tail, no drop, no drop. So we start with the ideal, and then we sin, so to speak. So the scriptures say sin, but we'll go into what sin is another time. But let's just stick with the bare facts right now. Sin, and then the fall, the drop, right? Then we have Hashem, or God, right? So the name of God, which isn't really pronounced, but English people pronounce it or try to pronounce it. You'll find out why in a minute, right? So we've got have you seen that? Oh, you can't see it. There's a shine. There's a light on it. There's a light on it. Why is it? Which light is in the way? That light? No, this light. Light over there. There we go. Hang on, let me just get my board in place so you can see it. There we go. This, right? You seen that? Or you may have seen it with the W. No? You never heard Yahweh? Anyone? There's a song. It's a really famous song. They won a Grammy for it, like something about Yahweh, right? And I'm like, what are they singing about? They're singing about this. Well, they're singing about God, but it's not pronounced that way, right? It's not. So anyway, let me get myself back around here because I'm going to tell you some more about this in a minute. So we have in Esther's story, we have God concealing his face, meaning that God is concealed, or the Hashem, whatever you want to call, let's just keep it simple. God in the Jewish, in the Torah, it's Hashem. And I say the beloved, right? And it's a story where he conceals his face so that there's a revelation. So the whole story of Esther is this: the rise to revelation. So we'll get to that over the next couple of days too, because she represents the Malchut. Oh, I'm running out of room. What am I going to do, MA? Okay. Because you need to see that if this is the crown in the tree of life, and this is what we would call Malchut, this is Keter, this is crown, and this is royal crown. But this represents the, I don't want to say let's just call it feminine, but it's not. Or the Shekinah. There's a few ways to spell it. Shekinah. The mother. Although up here, Bina is seen as the mother, the real mother, or even Sarah and Abraham, right, father. But all of these are just ways of understanding this rise and fall of the energy that we're here to rectify. How we do that within ourselves, how we do that in our relationships, how we do that in the world, and how we do that with the beloved. Right? So what was I saying? Something about Malchut. My notes don't give me too much. I just do certain words and I'm like, okay, what did I mean by that? So the story of woman in history is part of this revelation. We can look at all of them because she represents the Malchut, which is here. It's the lowest of the fruit on the tree, or the eminences, right? And so her job is to rise. And there's different ways she can do that. But Esther was talking about a particular way of rising, so you can go back and look at that. And when there is a Malchut in the world, it means God is revealed. So when we bring the mother, the feminine, the Shekinah, the daughter, the bride, the Malchut, and we bring, so some of you that have been around for a bit with me will know that calling in that Shekinah, or some of you might call it the Shakti, or the that force, that force of that life force, really. It's creative force. Assists with this because, anyway. So I just want to give you the gist of these letters so that I can go on to the mastermind and you'll at least know what I'm talking about. So, so we'll rub that out because I've got to go back to these letters so that you know what I'm talking about. So Hashem goes from Yod, Hey, vav, hey, to, or a V. It can be a V or a W, right? Just depends whether it's contemporary Hebrew or biblical Hebrew. And will be king, right? And Malchut will be the king over the whole world on the day, so this is key, on the day that Hashem will be one and his name will be one. So Rebel just came on, right? Let me say it again. In fact, I'm going to read my scribble notes. So the day that day, right, that Hashem will be one and his name will be one. The mystic sources say on that day, that name will be not this, Yod Hey Vav Hey. So they're just, Yod is this letter, Hey is this letter, Vav is this letter, and Hey is this letter. Yod Hey Vav Hey. It will be Yod Hey Yod Hey. Ideal, ideal. Right? No drop. There's no drop. So there's so much more to this. But it's interesting. This is why I brought Hava in, because, or Eve, because there's also the story of Lilith, the woman. So it's said that there are actually three aspects to Hava or Eve. It's for another day, but this is two of them where her name changed. So she was a higher. So Eve or Hava used to be higher. The Yod from the Vav, exactly the same as this. So what it's saying in a bit of a nutshell, well, I'm saying, this is what I see, right? So when the sin was brought down, ooh, right? So the woman, Eve, got down to Malchut, the bottom Sephirot or eminence, right? The lowest aspect of the eminence of God or of the beloved or of Hashem, really, of this energy. And when they were brought down, when we were brought down as human beings, there was a temporary, when did I talk about this? I was talking about it in Relevate course. Yes, with the hippocampus. Oh my God, this, okay, layer over. See, as I talk, I just see everything together. But there's a drop and a temporary stuntedness or potential is temporarily stunted, let's put it that way. Right? Wasn't I speaking about this recently about I don't think it was in the lives, I think it was in Relevate or one of the other programs. I was saying that when we get like we can't find our words and we can't, you know, it feels like we're losing our minds. So women, when we go through particular phases of our lives, perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, and how the hormones shift and change, but also pregnancy mind, you know, people sort of say, oh, I've got baby brain, or, you know, all those things. Then you can put it to a lot of different things, but you could also look at where the woman is shifting in her roles and being more selfless. There's a temporary stunting of her capacity, right? But it's on purpose. There's a reason. Like it's like as an artist, I know that when I create a lot, then I go, it's almost like you go underground to recover a little bit. You just sort of have that time to recover. So, you know, then when you come back out, there's that strength to give. So you receive, you give, receive, give. So how are you receiving? Are you receiving? Okay, so let me see. I've only got a couple more things on my little notepad here. So going back to Sarah, Sarah rose to the level of Hava, which I've run out of room, but maybe we'll go into this tomorrow. Sarah rose to the level of this great influencer, right? This is why on the tree she was way up. Let's get rid of this. So that's the crown. There's Sarah or Bina, and there's Abraham or Hokmah, right? And there's the crown. So we've got the bottom here, and Sarah was able to go through and sit here, and she represents that great mother, Bina, who birthed all the other aspects. Now, whether you follow this tradition or not, I can tell you in other traditions. It's just that this is the story because we're in the month of March, where we're going into Purim, that it is relevant energetically in the field. And so I wanted to share this information so that you can get a sense of what's underneath it. It's really not about any of this. It's about the energy, the receptive vessel to be able to give in a way that's not from ego, right? And even when we rise, we get to a place where we have spiritual ego. So we think we're all, we've emerged and we're awake, but we just have a spiritual ego then. So there's still some more rising and work to do, right? So Sarah raised to that place before sin, meaning she influenced her environment. Again, that word influence. It's about having the influence, not pushing and fighting and forcing. So those of you that are doing Relevate, you'll see this in the way I talk about the brain and the nervous system and how our mind or our memory works on these different levels. And when there's an influx of stress, there's a not a drop as such, but there's a temporary stunting or stop on how the hippocampus can integrate all the memory. So there's no integration of the experience. And so when you bring a memory to mind, you might feel something in your body, but you don't have all the rest of the information. And so there's a charge in or a broken circuit that will continually show up in your world and prevent you from moving forward or doing or being your full potential to be an influence in the world. Power with, not power over. Does that make sense? Because as I was saying it, I could see the Relevate, you know, all the psychotherapy and the brain developed neurochemical brain trauma and brain development stuff. So not hovers, but hayers. To rectify sin in this tradition, what I would say is what my spiritual name is, Simran Ishnan, right? Is to cleanse. The one who cleanses, clears all the, all the stuff, karma, sin, whatever you want to call it, trauma, for the remembrance of God. This is saying a similar thing, how, let me say, the transcended, so Sarah transcended the limitations women had and what they'd been put under, patriarchy and all of that sort of stuff, to rectify sin, or to rectify this process of drop, which some call the original sin, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to do something on Adam and Eve and show you the mystical aspect of it. But after we've done Esther, right? After we've done Esther, I should have probably started with Hava, but the first woman, which brings in Lilith and the stuff that she's been bastardized as well, right? How we understand her. Because of this, it's all to do with this. So to transform, clear, cleanse, karma. So, and then I was going to go into more of the Eve stuff, but tomorrow, well, we'll see where your questions are and what's going on. We're going to go over to the mastermind now. So if you are part of that, come over, because the Facebook is going to end in a moment. But if you'd like to join us, go to the Holistic Mystic Mastermind. You get 2 days free, so you could join us today if you get in quick, and you'll get the link in the portal, or tomorrow and the next day. And if you want to join us, you just stay on, and if you don't, you can unsubscribe, and that's that. And you just watch the freeze. Okay, so we are going into our mastermind. I tried so hard to be half an hour. It's just not possible. Well, it is. All right. So thank you for joining us, those of you that are on Facebook, and we're going over to the mastermind now. May the blessings be, and see you tomorrow for the next addition to our, what is it? The drop, the rise, the rose, the Esther, Megillah story, or Queen Esther. Okay, let's end